Hey there, heroes, villains, traitors. Welcome back to the Amateur Otaku podcast. We're discussing everything in My Hero Academia chapter 336. I'm your host today, All Mike. Joining me, of course, is my friend Isak Wolff as co-host of the show. There's some spoiler talk that we really need to get into, Isaac, but I want to just talk to the listeners and the viewers right quick about some news that we got. So, every year, My Hero Academia has these popularity polls
That's
to tell us
something
who.
that every big manga have.
Yeah,
Manga usually have.
yep. So, in this latest chapter, 336, we got the popularity polls for My Hero Academia, and results are interesting. They're very interesting. We also got this sick fan art, or excuse me, not fan art. It's official art from Kohei Horikoshi for My Hero Academia. I'm throwing that up right now. Give me just a second, guys. This is the art we got for My Hero Academia. I guess it's basically every character with their spirit animals, essentially. But yeah, it's really cool. These are our top 10. And Isaac, I don't know how you feel about this top 10, but I like how our guy Rody Soul is on the list.
I like that too. Remember seeing Ryan tweeted by just, "This is insane."
Yeah, right. If you guys missed our conversation that we had on the channel with Ryan, the voice of Rody Soul in the dub of My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, check that out. It's a fantastic listen. He's a really great guy. So really proud that his character made the top 10. But this is interesting because we have number 10 is Shinso. Number 9 is Rody. Number 8 is Present Mike. 7 is Aizawa. 6 is Ida. 5 is Hawks. 4 is Kirishima. 3 is Shoto. 2 is Deku. And 1 is Bakugo. Bakugo always wins these for some reason. And I will never understand why. But
Fangirls that want to save him, so to speak.
But some notable things here. Endeavor is 11. Uraraka is 12. All Might is 13. And then we have Tomura, who is 19. And somehow Shindo is still ahead of him at 17. I don't know what the running gag is of having Shindo be this high-ranking character. But Shindo made the list. You can clearly tell that this was done after season 5 of the anime, though, because all these characters are important in season 5, which is kind of cool. Another thing I want to mention is My Hero Academia was on the cover of Weekly Shonen Jump this week. This was the cover art. If you guys didn't see it, it was awfully cheery considering the contents of the manga right now. But it's Deku and All Might. Who doesn't love those two? Last thing I want to point out, and this is again for you, Isaac, and our great friend Ryan. Rody is appearing in Team Up Missions, which is another My Hero spinoff that we haven't covered here yet. But it's a really fun comic book of Deku and the Class A folks teaming up with other characters. Also, there was rumors. I can't find any official confirmation, but there's apparently a Rody OVA that we're getting before the next season. So
if that's true, I need to get Ryan on board with that too.
Yeah, but again, there was no official confirmation from Funimation or anything like that. So I don't know if that's actually happening, but if we're getting a Rody OVA and this spin-off comic book here, that's awesome. And I'm excited. That's great to see.
I love that character, so
yeah, we all love Rody Soul. He's fantastic, and the more we get with him, the better. But that's what I wanted to kind of discuss and cover before diving into this chapter, because that was all fun. This chapter is not. So
it's a good but short chapter, but it's not fun, so to speak, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So, guys, if you haven't read My Hero Academia chapter 336, this is your chance to leave. and come back after you read it, or come back in 2 years when this gets turned into the anime episode 20 or whatever of season 8. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but hey, we can use the views a few years from now. But this is My Hero Academia, chapter 336, titled Villain. Isaac? Oh boy. So last week, the internet melted. It had this giant meltdown, and everybody was freaking out because Toru Hagakure was the traitor. And that's just not the case. We found out in this chapter.
Horikoshi essentially said, "Psych, I fooled you."
Had us in the first half, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, dude, that was the biggest debate I have seen in a long time, and it was one of the best things he could have done for the story. It's crazy. So yeah, this chapter is simply titled Villain, and it picks up where we left off. Deku's training with Bakugo, as we expected. We see that Bakugo has this new power cluster, which I think is really cool. I like, again, we've mentioned this countless times, how Horikoshi, whatever's shown up in the anime tends to creep its way back up in the current manga arcs. So Bakugo recalls the parallel processing and the harnessing and buildup of his power that Endeavor taught him in season 5. So that it's morphed into his new ability, Cluster, which is just allowing him to have way more powerful explosions. He's like sweating 10 times more. And he finally addressed something that I've complained about on the show before, of why doesn't Bakugo wear his winter suit in the summertime so he could just sweat even more and have even more explosions readily available? Turns out it tires him out, which makes total sense. But I guess now he feels like it's worth it. Also, Afro Deku is back. I love the running gag of Deku's hair gets all crazy when he's fighting Bakugo. We also see Shoto, and I don't know if I want to know what it looks like to you, Isaac. Like, Shoto looks like he's trying to control, like, have such precision over the elements he's controlling that he's starting to have control on both sides. Like, it looks like he's able to, or he's trying to ignite fire and ice on either side. Am I reading the situation correctly there?
No, I think you're right.
If he can control ice on his...
I mean, imagine he wants to do combo attacks at the same time. I mean...
Yeah, or he could just go full-on Prominence Burn, right?
Or Prominent freeze fire or something, I don't know. You get my point.
Yeah. It's just really interesting. This is something that I always wondered if Shoto could like master. And it kind of feels like Horikoshi's addressing like, yeah, Shoto is going to be able to do both on both sides at some point. We get caught up with Gigantomachia. He's imprisoned. Kaminari and Mineta question why we can't just attack the villains now. Bakugo calls All for One a nutsack face, which killed me.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Also, I'm just surprised Viz let them translate it that way.
Also, we also have an obvious... I don't really get the reaction from Uraraka now, of all things. You see that...
I feel like this is just Uraraka being embarrassed, and there's nothing more to it.
Yeah, probably.
Not everything's a ship, man. Not everything's a ship.
No, it's just context that makes me confused about. Mina isn't teasing her or anything. Why is it?
I mean, in this panel, Asui saying everybody's grown warmer since Uraraka's speech, and Uraraka says, "Oh shucks." I think it makes perfect sense in context.
Okay, I missed that.
So
I missed that part.
Get all the school stuff out of the way, and we return to Toru Hagakure, our presumed traitor. And we see that her quirk has finally been useful. She walks in. They're in the middle of the forest, and she overhears Yuga Aoyama and his parents discussing on why they need to continue following the instructions of All for One. And Isaac, this is a theory that has existed for years now. So it's not necessarily a shock, but I love what Hori did with this chapter. With first of all, this devastating panel of Aoyama in tears. It's just incredible artwork, honestly. But the things we learn here is like Aoyama was quirkless and all for one gave him a quirk. But in doing so, they basically made a deal with the devil. And it's like the parallel with Izuku and Tomura is so strong there. It's crazy. What are your thoughts on like this twist here we got recently?
Yeah. First of all, the panel with All for One, it's downright. It just proves the point yet again on that once My Hero Academia is done, Rokosha should do a horror manga. But when it comes to the whole plot twist and all that, yes, it makes sense considering how he has it with his Kirk and all that, yes. I mean, let's face it, sort of like it's either he or Invincible Girl that made sense to being the traitor, even though I wouldn't be that happy with the former for reasons I stated in the previous episode we have about lost chapters. But it's just so gut wrenching if that that's that makes any sense, because you know that he don't want it.
It's incredible just visually. Like we're talking about the artwork and you're talking about how gut wrenching it is. But it's like I love how Horikoshi is making parallels. And this is crazy. Like we have this shot of young Aoyama saying being different is scary. And then we see his class kind of laughing at him. And he longs to have a quirk like everyone else. And it's like if you went back and read chapter 1, the paneling is the same of Deku saying he wants to have a quirk. Can he be a hero too? Everybody's laughing at him, blah, blah, blah. It's like it's exactly the same paneling and same layout. And that's intentional because, as Aoyama himself has said, he and Deku are very similar. Their quirks are not made for their bodies. And I mentioned this to you before, Isaac, before this chapter came out, like maybe an hour before the chapter came out. And I'm like, that phrasing was always weird because the show and the manga makes you think it's about the doomsday theory, right? Of quirks are getting too powerful and it's the kids' bodies aren't able to keep up with them. That's how it's presented to you. That's why you don't really think about it. But everybody in Deku's age range and his generation of quirk users, they don't have the issues that Deku has. So why would Aoyama not be built to handle that quirk? And so it's just like, what if it wasn't his quirk to begin with, and it's much like Deku, a quirk given to him by All for One or One for All in Deku's case? It's crazy.
Although I need to ask this: if you want to have proper person inside, why belly laser of all things?
I mean, it is a powerful quirk when he uses it correctly. Here's the kicker. There's a timeline where there's a specific moment where this dude, All for One, the baddest dude on the planet, had navel laser. And he's shooting sparkles out of his belly button. That is hilarious to me.
Yeah. I mean, you could have given them some form. I mean, it's just, especially, I don't know, it just, maybe it's just me, but having someone of a, wanting to have someone inside if I were him, I would give him somewhat of a more practical quirk to fight off people. Naval laser can only do so much. If
I think that's very
some
intentional though, because think about it. Like if somebody rolls into UA with a Bakugo level quirk, there's like Ayama clearly doesn't want to do this. So what if he teams up with Deku and tries to fight back against you? You'd rather him be kind of weak. It's easier to manipulate somebody who's weaker. And so
fair.
from that standpoint, like I get you probably want somebody who's a powerhouse who can wreak havoc from the inside, but if Aoyama isn't Dabi, like Dabi wants chaos and evil and terror. If Aoyama, doesn't really want to do this and he's reluctant, but he's doing it because you're blackmailing him, giving him a weaker quirk probably was for the best. The question is, how long has we see flashbacks of young Aoyama with his belt and the quirk and everything. So it's like, how long was this in play? Did he give him this power at 6 years old and wait for him to enter UA all this time? That's insane to me.
I mean, he said in the previous chapter that he plans decades in advance. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I love how we had the whole pan to Toru, and I think I mentioned this on camera of what if that wasn't the paneling wasn't necessarily clear. It was just a shot of her, but I like how in this one she's clearly I need to find someone, anyone. And it's of course she finds Deku. Of course that's the person she runs into first, which is probably the last person Yuga Aoyama wants to see, because oof. I feel like Aoyama legitimately wanted to be friends with Deku and everybody here.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking because I challenge every single person who's listening to this, even you, Isaac, go back and watch the Aoyama-centric episodes, and it's even more heartbreaking. Think about, it's in season 3, I think, when they're getting their provisional license exam, and you see him curled up in a corner saying that he's going to fail the exam, and Ida basically has to pick him up and say, nope, we're all going to pass together as a class, and Aoyama is all inspired by Ida, and it's
yeah,
there's a version what if Aoyama wanted to fail? He probably wanted to fail, that way he has no excuse for spying on them anymore, and it's them caring about him and being his friends led to him putting them in danger even more after that, which is just crazy. And again, like you said, it's heartbreaking and gut-wrenching because he eats lunch by himself. He doesn't eat in the class. It's it all makes sense now when you look back on it. And knowing, again, that he's not evil, that he's being forced to do this, it's just terrible, terrible feeling.
Also, I hate saying this, but is he going to, Lady Nagant, if you know what I mean?
That is a possibility. I don't think so. Mainly because in stories like this, and until my hero proves otherwise, I'm going to lump it in there as well. Not a lot of stories go through with killing children. So his parents might explode, but
this series has gone quite dark right now.
But not kill children dark, I'd say. Except if you're counting Kurogiri, but that was off screen. So
he could have the balls to do it.
He could. I'm not completely dismissing the idea, but it's until further notice, I'm going to assume that they aren't going to do that. And at best, his parents might go. How do you even get involved with all four? What happened where they met this dude saying, "I'm going to give you a quirk"?
That's a good point, because they don't. How should I put it? If they were some mafia family or something.
Yeah, like the Chiha Saikai, right?
Then they could probably have contacts with him on that regard. Which, man, they are not even that. They're just regular couples from what it looks like. So how uh, where how the hell did they get in contact with him? It's not like it's an open secret where he is. If that makes sense.
Here is my crackpot crazy theory. So we have established that the doctor that tells Deku he's quirkless is this very same doctor who works with All for One. What if that entire setup is how they recruit people? Like Deku's mom keeps apologizing, saying she wishes things were different and blah blah blah. It's like, what if the doctor told her, we can give your son a quirk for a price? And then she said no. And so that's why she feels guilty for Deku being heartbroken all those years. And it's like, what if that was the case the entire time? Everybody who was quirkless, the doctor and All for One, gave them a quirk, and now they're being manipulated into working with them, which is why he has friends everywhere.
That makes too much sense. That it just God damn it, Mike. What? Also, now that I think about it, also, correct me if I'm wrong, but in those group pictures that they do, isn't it often that Ayama is looking at the reader where everyone else is watching somewhere else, but in the mecha one, everyone else looked at the reader, but not he.
That is, like, that's almost an entirely another conversation on just the subtleties there. Like, yeah, Aoyama's always looking to the camera. He's always staring at you. And it's like, that could be for a couple reasons. One, he's got something to hide, or two, he is literally a spy and he's staring at us. And so it's like, I don't know if you noticed, but he hasn't been looking at us for a long time now, since the war arc started.
Yeah.
And I think because, like, think about it, Midnight's dead. Miruko's maimed. All of the, like, Aizawa is out of commission for who knows how long. Probably the rest of the series at this point. We don't really know. But it's like, he hasn't looked at us anymore. And I feel like that's because he feels a sense of shame. Like, I helped cause this. I helped do, because he gave their location at the USJ so they can kill All Might. And luckily, All Might saved them and won. But, like, imagine if All Might died that day. Or All Might's death, essentially in Kamino, when he had to retire. That was all because Aoyama told them where the training camp was, and they kidnapped Bakugo. And it's like, if Bakugo felt guilty for needing to be saved by All Might, imagine how Aoyama feels when all of this is happening. So I feel like it's a very subtle detail that you picked up on there about him not looking at us lately.
I was just thinking about it, thinking about it with everything you're talking about, how he's with the throwbacks he's usually doing that you mentioned a couple of times, and I was just thinking of it, so to speak.
Yeah, like, that's how you know it's a good twist, because the groundwork was laid there. And it's like, if Toru Higaki, first of all, we all owe Invisible Girl the hugest of apologies.
Yeah.
But, like, that, them being a red herring, her being a red herring, is perfect, because it threw us off Ayama's trail just enough to cause doubt. And when you look back on it, you could have very good theory on why she was the traitor, but clearly she wasn't. I don't think she'd out Aoyama here if they both were traitors. So,
yeah.
I just think this is one of the, like, these last two chapters combined have been one of the best moments of the year so far for me with My Hero Academia, especially with how frustrating the Star and Stripe stuff was. Pacing wise, storytelling wise, I think it just really works. And I can't wait to see what happens in the next one, because we need to see Deku's reaction to this final panel of saying, I am a despicable villain. Like, we know Deku's going to respond in a loving way, but what will Deku's response actually be? It has to be a sense of betrayal there.
He can. He is just stunned. Don't say anything. But then Baku comes in and just annihilate him just after hearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. If it was Baku that would heard it, he would just not hesitate and just go full on attack mode. Let's face it.
I disagree. I feel that Kachan's changed enough to where he's going to be like, hey, wait, you can lead us to the boss villain. And he tried to use him that way. He wouldn't go for the kill instantly anymore. That might be his second resort.
He would. Okay, he would just punch him hard enough that he would get unconscious, drag him there, and force him to confess.
Yep, that's more likely. There was a lot of cool stuff in this chapter. The color page we talked about, the kids training, which just seems really cool. The twist with the traitor reveal. Like, I don't know what else to add until we see what happens next chapter. Like, you got any other talking points you want to discuss?
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a bit of a cynical, dark bastard when it comes to potential occurrence here in this manga discussions and all that jazz. But honestly, while you do have a point that they're not usually child death in these kind of stories, I wouldn't go so far to say it is impossible that Ayama do a Lady Nagant. Unfortunately.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
His parents are dead.
Yeah, I think we can agree they're probably goners. But I don't know if Aoyama is. Again, simply because, like I said last week, which again, last week's episode aged like milk. So if you missed that one, go check it out. But like I said last week, Deku is the narrator of the story. And he straight up says that Aoyama is one of his closest friends from the narration standpoint. So I feel like Aoyama won't just die right here. He might die later on.
I mean, just because we have best friends doesn't mean they are with us for good, if you know what I mean.
I get it. That's why I said he can still die later on. But it's like, I don't think he'd say, like, the last word he would have said to him is, I'm a disgusting villain. I don't think he'd stay in best friend status if the last moment you had together was the ultimate betrayal. Like, let's not forget that Deku is the worst person who could have run into Aoyama, because All For One is his mortal enemy. Generations of his masters have died at the hands of this man. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like he's working with Redestro or Overhaul or Stain. It's like he's working with the guy.
Yeah.
The guy who made him and his master's life a living hell. That is terrible.
He essentially makes the entire world a living hell to some extent.
I mean, at this point, yeah.
I mean, especially since to some extent, you can argue that which makes All for One so scary is that he is kind of like if Lex Luthor and Joker has a love child, so to speak, which makes it much more. Oh shit!
Yep, that's really it right there, man. It's crazy. Things are getting really crazy in this series. Like, like we've been complaining. I feel like we've been a little too cynical at times. With My Hero and like the pacing issues and all that stuff. It's like these last two chapters work really well together. And I can't wait to see what the payoff is. Hopefully, we don't run into those pacing issues again and we kind of brush past it. Hopefully, we let this sit with Izuku and see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I hope it goes. It fares well, so to speak. And so I just don't want it to end up like Bleach that did that become rushed at the end of it, which is a shame considering that series is really good overall. I don't understand why they didn't why they haven't completed anime, since they continue having the very successful mobile game, but that's besides the point.
Isn't the anime making a comeback? I think somewhere.
They're only doing the last arc, which makes no sense since that is a series that is begging for a reboot.
Huh. That's weird. Okay.
Let me put it like this: the anime was essentially the first 10 episode is the last 10 minutes of the last week's episode.
Mm.
And it's
That's
20 episodes. Yeah, and it's a 20 minutes long episode each time.
I don't read or watch Bleach, so good luck with that, y'all.
It's the manga is pretty good though, even at the end of it, even with and also what's ironic is that there is a sequel right now with Ichigo having a kid, so. And yeah, it's much better than Boruto right now, so.
We couldn't go one episode without mentioning Naruto or Boruto, could we? We were so close.
Fuck Boruto with a hard stick.
Hi, jeez. Okay, well, I think that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Boruto than Sword Art Online, but that doesn't say much.
Guys, if you want us to review the Sword Art Online movie, let us know in the comment section down below. Force Isaac to watch it.
I mean, Ryan is part of that voice cast, so supporting him, I guess. But I'm gonna try and put our Sword Art Online episodes up on from Anchor up as soon as those work. And
it's gonna be fun. Isaac, we gotta hop off and record My Hero Vigilantes. So if you guys are keeping up with that series, that episode's gonna be dropping shortly. If you enjoyed this discussion, leave a like, subscribe, comment if you want us to cover any other anime or manga down there as well, or give us your thoughts on everything that happened in this chapter. It's been a crazy ride. We're coming to the end of the year. If you guys remember where we were at this point last year, I think we were still in the war arc. So it's been a heck of a ride in 2021 with My Hero Academia. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Amateur Otaku Pod. Follow me at Novice Cinephile, Isaac at Emblemaniac, Leo at Leo_Rydell, Brandon at the Scarlet Fan 52, and we will catch you guys next time. Go beyond. Plus Ultra.
Plus Ultra.